Hi, I'm Matt Wenning at WenningStrength.com, and today we're going to talk about how to build big shoulders safely. All of us want big shoulders. Big shoulders are awesome to have, but you don't want to use exercises that tax the shoulder joint too much and leave you not being able to wash your hair or wipe your backside. And that is a big problem for a lot of people that have trained shoulders really, really hard in their younger years. So I'm going to show you the key points of building big shoulders without tearing them up. Good, a little bit more power. Get it, good, that's better. The first thing you have to understand when you're doing shoulder exercises is that the rear delt is king. And what does that mean? That means if you're training shoulders, you need to train the rear delt twice as hard as you do the front. Why? Because when you're bench pressing and doing all this other stuff, you're going to be using the anterior delt whether you like it or not. Hopefully not. But the point is, you're still going to have it activated, but the rear delt has to be almost coursed into being reacted to. So what you're going to do is a lot of crossbody pull aparts, right? Or crossbody rear delt rows. You want to do a lot of these to build that rear delt. Because in reality, this part of the shoulder, the bigger it is, the bigger the whole shoulder looks. So that's one exercise. The next exercise that I used a ton of in my younger years was a face pull. Now, a face pull is just like this. I like to use a lot of band tension because it really forces the squeeze at the back end. But this particular exercise will not only help you get in a good position for a back squat, it'll protect the shoulders bench pressing and make the rear part of your shoulders look absolutely massive. The hard part is that when you're doing this exercise, the trap will want to try to take over most of the movement. You have to really focus on the rear delt. The next exercise that I like to use for lateral delts is I'll keep my pinky out, right? And I'll do a lateral raise, but I'll only go up to the shoulder joint. This is going to hit that lateral delt without doing too much damage. If you want to change up, you can do it knuckles out, or you can do it thumbs out. Both are going to be a little bit different, but you're kind of hitting the same muscle. The trick is the side delt, you don't want to go up too high and put that shoulder in a bad position. That's going to cause a lot of issues. The next exercise is militaries, and if you don't know a lot about my stuff, you need to buy the Powerlifting Manual. It explains a little bit of why not to do military presses, but there is one way to modify it with lighter weights so you can get all of the benefit without as much risk. That's the Arnold Press. So you start with your knuckles forward, and then you end with your knuckles back. So it's a small twist, nice and smooth. Now notice the tempo on this. I'm not trying to put a ton of power into this movement, and that's good because military presses tend to put your shoulder in a bad position anyway. So if I go super slow, I can make the exercise really hard without increasing the resistance too much. The next exercise that you're not going to be able to get around without building that anterior delt and making it look really good is a crossbody lateral raise. But there's a way I like to do it, and that's almost cross the body. So when I raise, I turn my hand upside down and go across the body. That really hits this anterior delt, but it feels like it doesn't put a whole lot of stress on the shoulder. Now look, I'm using a 12. Right? It doesn't take a lot of weight. What it takes is a lot of control to get better and to get big rear delts. So don't get too crazy and using really heavy weights for your shoulders because they'll grow without it as long as you control the weights. The next exercise is more of a shoulder saver than a builder, but very important nonetheless. I'm going to keep my arms at 90 degrees. I'm going to come all the way down, and then I'm going to go all the way back as far as I can. And I'm going to do this super slow. Now these muscles, these rotators, if they're in really healthy position, they're going to allow you a lot more hard exercises in the bench pressing, straight bar squatting, etc. without damage. You get these weak or too tight, you're going to have a big issue. So make sure that at least once or twice a week, you're working the rotator cuffs and making them super strong. And I like this because I have to force my elbow down. I can't really cheat and do weird things if I'm forcing my elbow down. And this allows me to be able to work on that muscle without activating any others. So the big things we hit on today was how to hit the rear delt. And you notice we showed two exercises for the rear delt, one for the side and one for the anterior delt. Remember that most of the stuff, if you're doing chest and pressing, you're going to be using the anterior delt anyway. So don't do a lot of isolated work for that anterior delt. You can do a little bit more for the side delt, but you need to do a lot for the rear delts. And why? Because the rear delts help fix posture and keep the shoulder healthy and allow you to do more pressing movements to get these muscles stronger secondarily. If you start only focusing on the things you can see in the mirror, you're going to have a short-term career and you're going to have a lot of joint pain when you get older. So make sure that you're hitting the back side as hard or harder than the front side, when I would say is at least a 2-to-1 volume. So if you do an anterior delt exercise and say you do 200 pounds of total work, you need to do 400 pounds of total work on the rear delt.